Greetings, brothers and sisters. When you think about the way that Americans behave, Americans are wealthy people throughout the world, people who have a high level of comforts and lifestyle. For Americans, most Americans think that's how it is throughout the world. See, when you drive through like urban areas, real impoverished urban areas, or rural areas where there's poverty, you see homeless people on the street. There's a defense mechanism just to, block it off. Like you don't really see it, right? You don't register. You don't really think about it because people don't want to think that could be them. That's a possibility for them. And so, most people who have a middle class lifestyle think it's just going to be like that forever. And what you see now, a big part of what you're seeing from the beast, from the system, is telling you that you can't have that anymore. That this isn't, they're reneging on their promise because it's a promise. And I talked about this early on in this YouTube channel. This promise that the people that control the system, they gave it to our ancestors, our grandparents and great-grandparents. If you leave the farm, if you give up the agrarian lifestyle, your village, whatever, your tribe, we'll take care of you. We have a better system. You only have to work 8 hours a week. You can live in these cities with all these different advantages and things like this. You just have to, walk off the farm and we'll take care of you. You're not going to need those skills again. You're not going to need, all the things that kept you alive before. We'll take care of everything. You just get a specialized skill, work a limited amount of time, and you'll have free time and a better lifestyle. And so this was the promise of the modern, whatever we have now. But that promise was not sustainable. Certainly here in America, it's not sustainable. The debt-based economy isn't sustainable. And what they didn't tell you was that people all over the world were going to suffer so you could have whatever you had in terms of your lifestyle. Their lifestyle was going to suffer. They were going to live in great poverty because you're going to have these big box stores, Walmart or whatever, and it was going to be filled with other people's stuff. People's, products from all around the world were going to be in your store, and the people producing those products were going to live horrible lives. They were going to be in these sweatshops, basically modern day slaves of a devalued currency where they would make less than a living wage and they would work long hours. So, it was, and so there's just this ignorance in people in terms of how the debt-based economic system works, how, where your stuff comes from, all these things, right? There's an overall ignorance to these things. And so what you have is a lot of people who expect their lifestyle, they think their lifestyle has been guaranteed because the people who control the system have guaranteed it to you. They've told you over and over again, this is what you, deserve. You deserve more and more. And, treated you like a customer, treated you like your opinion matters. Oh, the customer's always right? This is, and that's no longer going to be the case because it was never sustainable. So this system that you're now 100% dependent on is going to demand more from you and give you back less. And so this is, a hard sell in America. They're having trouble selling this to Americans. It's one of the things that's delaying this, global movement where everybody around the globe is going to have the same level, and it's going to be less for Americans and rich people in every country. There's rich people in every country that live like Americans, like middle-class Americans live, and it's not sustainable. It was never sustainable. And now, they have to sell it to everybody. And it's like a rich man's wife who's gotten entitled and feels, if she doesn't know where her husband's money comes from, it could be the reverse, but this is, the better analogy here. She doesn't know where her husband's money comes from, doesn't care, but she likes to spend it. She has, an addiction to her lifestyle. One of these people would be in one of these, housewives shows or something, these reality TV shows. And she has, she loves her lifestyle. And something happens to her husband's business and he's making a fraction of what he used to make, and he goes to talk to his wife about cutting back on her spending, and she won't hear it. Like, she's like, you better go fix this, right? I don't care how you do it. You just go do it, right? Like, she doesn't want to be aware of any of that, but she's not changing. She's not giving up her credit cards and whatever she does, her lifestyle and these things. And so that's America right now. Like, Americans just won't hear it. They won't have it. There's just this entitlement. And you think about how nasty and miserable, I mean, I've been doing comment videos lately, and entitled and, just all these things, that these lower level qualities that exist here in America, and for people around the world who have, a little bit more money, a little bit more whatever it is than the average person. Those people aren't happy now. Like, they're not, with all the things that they have, they're not happy. So how's it going to be when there's less? How's it going to be when, they don't have, a fraction of what they have now? I mean, this idea of everybody renting things and not owning, that's a hard sell to, certainly people in America. And if you think about what's going to happen, like, let's say the electricity went off. We had no electricity. Just, it was gone forever. Something like that. Or just, in terms of, like, just the gas, the fuel problem we had, that fuel line that got hacked. There was not enough gas for people to drive the way they're driving. We had half the level of gas in our country, or it had to be rationed, or food rationings, or other these things. Just less stuff. Like, Walmart was, a third or 2/3 empty of products, right? Stuff like that. And just, things that are going to come because there's no way it's not. Like, I've seen the numbers. Like, I know it's going to happen. Like, there's no way they can't. They can't keep this promise. They never could keep this promise. And now it's, they're breaking it. The people who control the system. And people can be mad at them and, get mad at God and feel entitled. But it's a lack of awareness of the fragility of the system that could never, it was never sustainable. And there's things that are going to happen. Global things, war, man-made things, but also things of nature, catastrophes, calamities, whatever. Upheavals is what they're called, from hurtfulness. We've had a very stable earth for the past, thousands of years. Very, a very abundant earth. And that's not always the case. Things happen, and there's deprivation, and we're entering a period of deprivation on top of everything else. And so, people's ability to accept that, people's ability to realize that they still have a purpose outside the system, because most people don't have a goal. Most people don't have any sort of purpose outside of their materialistic lives. It has to do with money, it has to do with pleasure, it has to do with experiences, it has to do with, material things. And when those things go and they're disappearing, and they're certainly disappearing for the younger generation that, is so mad at the boomers and all, because they just don't have the opportunities, and they know it. Like, they can sense that, and they're, when they get out of their internet-driven video game stupor, right, TikTok video stupor, the system isn't going to be there for them in the way it is now. Like, all the things they're used to aren't, promised, right? Like, they know. And I think most people know, because, like, animals know before things start going south. But people are, in collective denial and saying, we demand that you provide this for us. It's just an attitude of, like, this, stubborn, materialistic wife that doesn't want to give up her, lifestyle and all these things. She's not even allowing you to float the idea out there that is, that her lifestyle could be compromised, that it's something that you could be taken away from her. She's like, if I don't get it from you, I'll get it from somebody else, kind of thing. And so there is going to be a period, something's going to happen, maybe, there's something that's being talked about, a prediction, a prophecy, and the heartfulness system that's going to happen in 25, 26. There was no, specificity, but it was going to be a big event, bigger than these other events that we've seen. And so there's going to be a time where people realize that it's over, and they're not going to handle it all well. They're going to flip out. I mean, based on everything I see, there's just nothing there in terms of character qualities, in terms of their ability to, deal with disappointment, in terms of any of these things. And so when that happens, there's going to be like a, just a feeling across certainly the country, but the globe. And this feeling isn't going to be, it's not a feeling, it's an emotion, right? A negative, whatever it is. angst and fear and hatred, all these negative emotions coming up, blame and just, and then the behaviors will set in, like whatever they do, what people do, what the mob does when they just go into some sort of frenetic state and they, just lay waste to whatever's around them, just a way to, to express what they're feeling, express it's just this negative, condition that's been set up when the promise is broken and they realize it, right? When they realize that they're not entitled to these things and that the people that have been promising them, have never been able to sustain it. It was a false promise, right? They were just, this day was, as soon as their ancestors left the farm, this day was coming. The day you realize the people who control the system have been lying to you the whole time, this fake promise, and that you need all those skills, like you need, all the things that your ancestors left behind them, the tools and the, skill set to survive outside of, the beastly system. And the feeling of overwhelm, right? How do people deal with being completely overwhelmed? Like now you get a sense of what you're going to have to do to survive and keep your family alive and things like this. I have a sense of this when I started living on the homestead and doing homestead things, but not a real sense, not like, I did it. Like, like my family and I were able to, do all the things you need to survive. But we did enough where I realized, it's not like any one thing is hard, but collectively in the routine and the, all the things you need to become and all the things you need to know and all the, you have to be more sensitive. You have to be like in the flow of nature and reading things and, understanding, like just being intuitive in a way that, most, you can't be oblivious. And most people are just oblivious. They're oblivious to everything around them. And so I have a sense of, what it takes to go from depending on the beast to being more self-sufficient. And certainly it needs community more than anything else. You need other people in, not just a family type situation, but multiple families. And you have to live in a local level where everything's produced locally and everybody has something to offer and skills, and people have to take care of each other and be selfless. Like the selflessness is what's, going to be the key to this, where you do for others. And so when I talk about the solution here, I've done a bunch of videos about, comment videos recently. And when I talk about, what's perhaps different from this YouTube channel from other ones is the solution, right? The solution, right? The heartfulness meditation's ability to connect people to God and give you a goal outside your materialistic lives. Because most religions, their goal is, it sounds like a spiritual one because it's like, going to heaven or something, the afterlife or whatever it might be. But it's really about allowing you to indulge on planet Earth and promising, we'll take care of your spiritual life. Like most religions, all religions to one extent or another, are about allowing you to, telling you and selling to you that they're going to take care of your spiritual life, right? So that's what religions do. That you don't have to participate in that. You just vow or pledge to be a member of the organization and you do what they, tell you in terms of, giving them money or whatever it is. And they'll take care of you. And that just, that's a lie. Like you're not, you have to have a relationship with God, which most people don't want to have because your material indulgences, people's material indulgences, are things that if you had a relationship with God, like you wouldn't be a billionaire or a trillionaire because you would know all these other people are starving while you hoard massive amount of wealth and potential to help those people. And so, having a relationship with God and opening up your heart. There was somebody that said, a recent video, they were doing the heartfulness meditation for 3 years. And I think the person said they had to stop because they could start feeling things from other people. It was overwhelming, right? Their heart was opening up and, they didn't necessarily feel like it was something that they liked or could cope with. And so that's, the price that people pay for being asleep. Like you're, when you create defense mechanisms to cope with material life, to cope with the harshness and the aggressiveness People don't realize how aggressive it is in America, like how aggressive you've been trained to be. People are very aggressive, like it's an aggressive place. And, the killer instinct and things are, these are character qualities that are extolled, right? All these things. I've talked about that before, being hard and being, out for yourself. My dogs are fighting in the background. I don't know if you can play fighting. But having a selfish orientation to the world. Me first, what have you done for me lately? Those types of things. And so when you open up your heart and you live in a way where you're, you can feel things, like your shell, your defensive shell comes down. I mean, that's one of the issues with people in the heartfulness system, is that once you open up your heart, you start to feel things. And things don't feel great. Like when you interact with other people, you start feeling their anger and their sadness. I mean, there's just things that people are, make themselves oblivious to. You start feeling all the, the condition, the inner condition of people. And it doesn't feel good, especially when your condition gets better. Like when you start getting cleaned out of your samskaric load, right? When you're, it's a positive thing. And so you start being more sensitive. You become more sensitive to the world around you. You're no longer oblivious to all the, things that are going on inside of people, and then just everything else. You're more aware, and it's painful. Like, because our material world, we have beautiful cities and, beautiful things, cars and houses and whatever it is. But the way people feel collectively isn't great. I mean, people aren't feeling good. Like they don't, feel good inside. And so and people put on, a fake veneer, and they wear makeup and, with their clothing, and, they put on a brand, a fake persona, a mask, not a corona mask, but an acting mask. They put on, a fake persona. It's funny that, things have changed so much. I used to just say people put on a mask and everyone would know what I was talking about. Now it means something completely different. But people put on this, fakeness, and, once you see behind it, it's very unpleasant. But in all this, you have to change. Like, it's just going to be painful. Opening up your heart and being cleaned out and getting rid of some of the things that you used to cope in this, negative things you used to cope. It's going to be painful when, you don't have those things anymore. It's painful. The world is full of pain and misery and suffering, even though it's not material. People have their material needs met. Their spiritual deprivation. People are so lonely and lost and without love and without, true relationships, and completely feeling alone and overwhelmed, and, just all these negative things. Lost. I mean, so many people are lost in this world. And everybody's going to feel it. Like when the, veil is lifted, when the system collapses, and people, it's going to be this moment of reality. It's the illusion coming down around them. Their Stockholm syndrome, waking up from their collective Stockholm syndrome to the beastly system and all of it, realizing that they, have to do different. They have to become something other than what they are now, what you've been trained to become. And the thing that you have to become is more significant. You have to become, more of your potential, because the system has, eliminated so much of, just in terms of your ability to, fend for yourself on a materialistic level, on a material level. The skill set, the agrarian skill set, but also in terms of relationships, and ultimately spiritually, in terms of your relationship with God. Like, you have to be so much more than your religion said you had to be, or some people don't even have that. And so now you have to have a spiritual relationship with God. It's going to hit people all at once, and they're not really going to understand it. They're not going to understand what they're feeling. And it's just too much, it's too much of a load to bear all at once. So that's where the heartfulness system, it's, it's a complete blessing, because you can start on an internal level, prepare for this. Your relationship with God is going to be the basis for all future existences and all successful endeavors. People are going to have an internalized relationship with God. That hurts you now, because, to have a good materialistic life, a relationship with God and having a conscience and empathy would hurt you. Being a sociopath is a good thing right now. in our modern day civilization. But that's, that's the limited time offer. In the future, all endeavors will have to be, all successful endeavors will have to be done in partnership with God on an internal level, internally connecting to God through your heart. And that's what the heartfulness system provides. But more than that, having a spiritual goal, a goal to, go back to the Creator and serve God as a part of your, fundamental reason for being here on planet Earth is going to be essential. Because why go through what everyone's going to have to go through? Like that's going to have to be essential. I think everyone has to come to terms with that. Like you have to change your orientation to the world. Because if your orientation is just materialistic and having a materially good life or whatever it is, and that's taken away from you, then you have to change why you're here, right? You have to be there for other people, especially, the older generation. It could be easy for people who are older. It's hard to change, the older you get, it's hard to change. It's easy for you to just say, it's been nice. I can't reinvent myself that much, but, just being there for the younger generation, having something, if you have something to offer. But if you have nothing to offer, like, what are you going to offer the future generation? And so these are things that people are going to have to come to terms with. And I think most people are starting to feel it, right? Feel that something's coming around the corner and they're not going to like what it is. And so, only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely important for the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.